In 2018, Chinese spies attempted to rob a secretive driverless car technology from Apple. The suspects, Jizong Chen and Xiaolang Zhang, were former Apple engineers who were part of the secret project. They were accused of using their access to classified labs to steal trade secrets. The theft occurred right as Zhang was preparing to defect to X Motors, a Chinese startup that specializes in electric cars and self-driving technology. X Motors has some truly big names backing it up that I guess you've most likely heard of. Alibaba Group, China's largest e-commerce company, and Foxconn, one of Apple's major Chinese contractors. Luckily for Apple, Zhang was arrested in 2018 just as he was preparing to board a flight to China from San Jose, California. This, however, wasn't an isolated incident.
Congressman Dan Crenshaw slammed China during the Energy and Commerce Subcommittee hearing Wednesday. The Texas lawmakers' questioning centered around China's theft of U.S. information. Last year alone, the Associated Press reported that the Chinese government hacked at least 6 state governments.
So how serious is the case of Chinese IP theft? Why are the Chinese going out of their way to steal American IP? And why does it even matter? Let's dive in. The theft of trade secrets by China costs America an estimated $300 to $600 billion annually. FBI Director Christopher Wray has identified China as the single biggest threat to American law enforcement. According to him, China sought to steal American tech using any means necessary. Since 2018, the US has dramatically increased its efforts to clamp down on these incidents. By 2019, the FBI was investigating around 1,000 cases of IP theft across its 56 regional offices and arrested 24 people. Within the first 2 months of 2020, an additional 19 arrests had been made. The arrests included those of 2 Chinese diplomats and those of former CIA and Defense Intelligence Agency officials. China, of course, denies allegations of wrongdoing, but a copious amount of evidence suggests otherwise. Over the years, China has appropriated vast amounts of unclassified American technology, ranging from military secrets to medical research. Just in medical research, for instance, 180 investigations into the misuse of NIH funds and the wrongful sharing of confidential information found that over 90% of all cases were linked to China. Several other such cases also abound. In 2011, an American wind turbine maker called American Superconductor, or AMSC, accused its former Chinese partner Sinovel of stealing the source code for its wind turbine control software. Sinovel was found guilty and fined $1.5 billion. According to AMSC, however, 8,000 Chinese wind turbines were running on its stolen software, and the damages to the company were well over the amount of the fine. AMSC's stock lost $1 billion in value, and it had to lay off 700 people that made up more than half of its global workforce. In 2019, the US government charged Chinese telecom giant Huawei with stealing trade secrets and offering bonuses to employees who managed to swipe tech from other companies. The charges included allegations that Huawei had stolen a robotic arm from T-Mobile that was used for testing smartphones. According to US authorities, Huawei was obsessed with a T-Mobile robot nicknamed Tappy that could detect problems in cell phones by mimicking how people use them. T-Mobile was letting Huawei engineers into the Tappy lab to test their phones when a Chinese engineer quite literally swiped a robot arm out of the lab in his laptop bag. And in January 2020, federal prosecutors announced criminal charges against Charles Lieber, a Harvard department chair, for being involved in industrial spying and stealing for China. Prosecutors claimed that Lieber had lied to authorities about his involvement in China's 1,000 Talents Plan, a plan by the Chinese government that offers overseas scientists, mostly Chinese, irresistible financial incentives to bring their knowledge to China. Cases like these, of course, have made China's IP theft a major source of concern for governments and businesses around the world, but especially in the US. They've also been a major source of contention between America and China since the Trump era. But why does China continue to engage in spying and theft, despite the implications that such activities have on China's international standing and on its relationship with other countries? The first reason for this is that China depends heavily on Western technology, and as legal avenues for tech transfer are obstructed, it turns to spying for access. China also lacks effective IP laws and the necessary mechanisms to enforce them. Attempts have been made recently to improve the legal framework in China, but enforcement remains inconsistent and ineffective, and theft is often facilitated by corrupt local officials. The need for business success and technological advancement is more important to the Chinese than IP rights, and some people argue that IP theft is in fact facilitated by the Chinese government as part of a broader strategy to achieve technological dominance and challenge the global order. To support their argument, they cite a 2018 study by the EU Chamber of Commerce in China, which found that 20% of foreign companies felt compelled to transfer technology to the Chinese as the price that they must pay for access to China's sizable market. They also cite the fact that most American companies refrain from voicing specific complaints about their encounters in China and voice their concerns through trade groups instead to avoid retribution from Chinese regulators. Before we proceed, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. It's free for you to do, but lends a lot of support to our entire team. Now back to the video. More than anyone else, Chinese IP theft hurts American businesses. For businesses, the theft of trade secrets, patents, and other IP result in lost revenue, decreased competitiveness, and damage to their reputation. It also discourages investment in R&D, particularly in sensitive or strategic industries. It undermines trust in the legal system and serves to deter foreign companies from investing in China. Some analysts also argue that the prevalence of IP theft in China has contributed to a culture of copying rather than creating, which may stifle innovation and creativity. On a national or global scale, IP theft has been a major source of strain for the US-China relationship and has also been one of the primary driving factors behind the imposition of US trade sanctions against China. It likely also compromises American national security, as illustrated by China's use of American IP to develop hypersonic missiles. China is a large, highly interconnected global economy, and its decisions affect us all. But it seems to remain stubbornly attached to issues such as Taiwan, even when global opinion differs from its own. So will China change course and stop engaging in anti-competitive practices? I don't think so. But at the same time, I don't have a clear answer for where things will go from here. International relations remain precariously balanced, and only time will tell what the future holds.